All right, so today we are going to talk about my favorite part of the year. We are working on a fire suppression system. And all I ask of you is to don't make any preconceived judgments about, oh my gosh, this is a lot. It's like 13 days worth of class. And it's not like we're working on this, but we're also going to do normal lectures and give you homework. No, we're just working on this. So we will be giving you kind of, hey, think about getting this done by this time. Think about this by this time. And it's very organized. It's very organized in the fact that it probably makes you feel like there's more than there really is. Okay, so we're going to go through it. Sit back, take as much as you can. But I really need you to be with me. So if we have phones or earbuds or whatever else, and I'm not looking around, I don't even know, I'm just hoping that I don't see anything. You want to really be with me right away because this is going to help a lot. Okay? So first, take your sheet, and I want you to fold it so it's like a brochure. How fancy! So that's the front. Chem Mess, it actually comes from my college. Mess is messenger sometimes when you have like a small publication, like a little newsletter for like a department or something like that. So they called it the Chem Mess, and it kind of has two names because like you make a mess a lot of times. Chem. How creative. All right, so you got 4 pages on here. All this stuff is online. Okay, we will continue to help you through it, but this is your guide. If you ever are missing something or not understanding, this is where it comes from, okay? So, I don't know if it's older now. Everything always gets older. But if you've ever heard of The Office and Dunder Mifflin, if you haven't, they're a paper company out of Scranton, Ohio. If you haven't, they're on Netflix now, I think. It's a good watch. I'll tell you now, it's the first time my wife brought me up. I really like the show. My wife brought me up the first time to watch it, and I thought it was the dumbest show I ever saw. Because it didn't have any laugh tracks at all. Like, I grew up with like Seinfeld and Friends, and they would laugh. Like, oh, that is funny. And you'd start laughing, like, oh yeah, that fake laugh makes me think it's funny. And they have no laughter. And you're like, what do you mean? I don't even know what you mean. And if you've ever watched like Modern Family or a lot of other shows now, like, there's no laugh tracks. Like, now it's like weird to think about a laugh track. Like, I heard a show the other day with a laugh track. I'm like, what's that noise? So they were kind of the first ones that did it, at least in America. So this is Dunder Mifflin. So on the front, this is kind of the situation. So let's talk about that. It says, Dear Director, our small printing company needs to update our fire extinguisher system immediately to avoid losing our insurance. With our high-tech equipment and computers, a standard water sprinkler system is inappropriate. We understand that buildings with electronic equipment usually have fire suppression systems that use a non-reactive gas. Consider using carbon dioxide gas or halon 1211 bromochloro-difluoromethane system. Not the first time I said that. The reaction vessel may be located inside or outside the building. Design requirements are enclosed. So right off the bat, there's a lot of, you've seen it, sprinkler systems, water all comes down. Problem is if you have really expensive electronics, they're all going to be ruined. So on Wednesday, I'm going to show you some pretty cool videos of foam systems. Like they do them in these hangers, and it's like, they look like tunnels of foam, and they fill up these hangers. And there's gas systems like a halon 1211 system where it fills it with gas and the gas smothers it. The problem with both those, you got to get the people out or you'll kill them. You'll smother them because you're taking all the oxygen out. It's not like, oh, we're getting wet. No, like they won't get out in time because you're consuming the oxygen. Foam's different. It's not like foam party, like hey, there's foam, woo, fun. Like you got to go. So due to the fact that they are planning to move soon to a new location, we would like develop a short-term fix for our current extinguishing needs. We are currently, of course, we got to throw something weird in here. We are currently located in Norway and plan to move to Venezuela. We understand that our locations could affect planning from one system to the next, but we hope that your firm will be able to make our move as seamless as possible. Sincerely, Michael Scott, Regional Manager, Dunder Mifflin. First, if any of you are not good at geography, this is Norway. That is Venezuela, so we do have a bit of a move. We will talk about what that all means for you in a little bit, okay? All right, so, of course, whenever we get a proposal from a company as a contract, we got to research them a little bit, so I found Dunder Mifflin's commercial. So let's talk a little bit about what we have to do. Turn the page, please. Inside page. So if you're ever needing information or you're feeling like you don't understand where something's coming from, it's probably the inside page where that's going to help you with some of the calculations. Okay, so we've been contacted about a very important contract. As part of the job, we will need to build a cardboard 1 to 100 scale model of the facility. The model should be 30 by 15 by 10 centimeters, according to the plan of the facility shown on the right. T-candles are going to be used as their fire, and if you guys can bring certain things in, it'll help you with your costs. We'll talk about that. This is the approximate size. Now, I'm not saying this is a good building, I'm just trying to show you the size. It won't be all clear like that. Considering that they are moving from Norway to Venezuela, we need to take the temperatures into account when calculating. We will eventually worry about the calculations. Those are not our priority right now, but if you need them, there they are. So there's the Norway and the Venezuela numbers. But that last sentence right there, it says, in Pulaski during this time of year, this is the average amount. You are going to have to make a model, and we have to test it. We're doing it in Pulaski. So I would underline and then circle or highlight those two values. Those are going to be the most important two values for you because they're going to help figure out how much acid and solid you're actually going to need in your model. Okay? So there's one mistake that I have made on here so far that I've seen that is important to make sure we fix. And I did purposely put the date, and then this morning I thought to myself, I already had it all printed off, is we need a little extra time. By Friday, you need to have a couple things done, and I'll talk about that. But this says by Wednesday. So this needs to be by Friday, 4/28. And I sent you an email on Canvas that has a couple links that are going to be helpful. On Wednesday, I will clarify anything that you might need for clarification. So at the end of today, if you're like, I don't quite know every part that's due Friday, after Wednesday, you'll have a much better idea, okay? But it says, you need a page summary of your plans, including sketches if necessary. So we'll talk about it in a second, but what do you think you might try to start doing? What's your plan of your building and your what we're going to call a reaction vessel going to look like? Your list of estimated costs. You may not be even close to being right, but I need you to start showing that you're thinking about it. And then finally, I'm going to show you one set of calculations of how to figure out how much acid and solid we need. So I'm going to go over that a little bit on Wednesday, and you need to have that. You're going to take a photo of your sheet, and you'll just submit it on the Canvas by Friday. Okay, so that's the first thing that's technically due. Okay, so we'll talk more about that in a second. Blueprint. Let's talk about that. So you could. We're adding something this year. You could do the blueprint that's on the right of that sheet, the 30 by 15 by 10. That's this size. Okay? But if you want to have a little fun, especially if you're a fan of the show or you just want to have a challenge, potentially you can get a bonus. Don't ask me what the bonus is yet. I don't know. I was just trying to get this all kind of finished up because I'm trying to add and make this a little clearer. This is actually the layout of Dunder Mifflin. It was really hard to find a picture that actually was in high definition. This is a cool little computer sketch or creation of it, and we're cutting it off right here. So when they were starting to burn their hands on the doors, they were trying to get in the stairwell here. But we're cutting it off right here. I don't know the exact dimensions. I will have it better. Please understand, the sheet's not the scale. People were taking rulers, and this isn't 30 centimeters. I know that. Like I don't even know what it is. It's gonna be 30 by 30, so it's double the size. I will have what these lines are if you really want. It doesn't have to be perfect though. You just have to have some closed-in rooms, some open rooms, some half-open rooms, and then another closed room. What are those numbers? That's where we're gonna put our candles instead of the other one where it was just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay? So I don't know. I was guessing this was 15, 10, and 5, but I'll come up with something a little bit more accurate if you really need that. But I'm not going to take a ruler. The only ruler we take is the outer dimensions. By the way, this is the same height. Is the height 10? I think it's 10 on the other one. This is still going to be 10 high. So this is 10 high, by the way. So this is 30. So that's still what it's going to look like. It's just going to be double. It's going to be like 2 of them. So it's going to be a little more work. I don't know how it's going to work. I don't know how it's going to turn out. But if you're wanting to take that challenge, it could be a little more difficult just because you have more space and the candles are in some more open areas. Although you could get more creative in how you do that. Let's talk about, before I move forward, what is the overall challenge? Because I think it's good to hear it before you start seeing all this other stuff. Let's keep this real simple. I have a liquid and I have a solid. And I want to keep them apart until I want to mix them. I'm going to mix them in something. I'm not saying this is a good example. There's only one good thing on here. It wasn't the best. I want to keep them separated. I don't know how they did this. Until I want to mix it. Then I'm going to use tubes, straws, pipes, whatever, and I'm going to channel the gas into 8 separate locations. And I'm going to try to smother all the flames. If you do really well, you get your name on the golden fire hydrant. You got to be the winner. The winner is the team with the fastest time with no spills or loss of chemicals and no damage to the building's pipes, anything else like that. The fastest time ever was like 1.5, 1.8 seconds. Normal averages, though, are like 3 to 5 seconds. When we do this, I hate to disappoint you, when we do this, it doesn't, when you turn it or you pull it or twist it, a mushroom cloud doesn't form. The table doesn't disappear. We don't have new furniture every year. If you do a really good job, you're the most boring project. You turn it, and there's no noise, and the flames just went out. You're like, oh my gosh. The exciting ones have a lot of problems. You have leaks. You have seals that aren't right. You have acid flying out. Last year for the first time, I had a girl in the back sitting in my high chair, her feet in the sink because we had to dilute her feet for 15 minutes because she had acid all spilled down onto her feet. She was fine. She was just embarrassed. We had powder going up in the air, all sorts of stuff. That means you didn't channel the gas well. Okay, so you actually want to try to harness that. That's the goal. Okay, there's a lot of ways we can go about doing it. Do you want to go for speed or creativity too? Again, only one team can win for the speed, but some groups are just like, I want to just do a creative way. And if it goes fast, great. If it doesn't, I'm going to do it my way and have some fun with it. All right, go to the next page on the right there. I just want you to understand it's not all going to make sense today. You have a certain amount of money. Now, I don't know if I'm going to give you more money if you try to do the Dunder Mifflin. I have to look into that yet. Again, ad-libbing this just a little bit. You have $265,000. Woo! The top part is required. Okay, so some of these things you don't have a choice. Disposal fee, 10 grand. You're spending it. No, at night we're going to go in the back. We're going to dig a hole. I'll just dump it. I know that stuff kind of happens, not in this project, but we're not doing that. Like, it costs money to do and get rid of chemicals the right way. Okay. One thing though, for you to understand, and this will make sense in about 3 minutes. Right now, you are slotted to be in class, quote unquote, or in school for 10 days during this. Now, weekends aren't counting. So, lab space, rental, you have to rent equipment sometimes, like if you have a business, utilities, all that stuff. It costs money. Every day costs $5,000, okay? But if you want to try to cut that down, you can't be at the end, well, I was done in 7, so charge me 7. You will have to, and I will repeat this again on Wednesday, you will have to physically go, Mr. Gussie, I'm done with the building part, because there's paperwork too, and there's not a ton. Like, we're done. Like, we're done 2 days early. Here you go, and we'll store it somewhere. Great. Then I mark it down, then you save $10,000, right? Save 10,000. Oh shoot, I didn't show it. Wednesday I'll show you the best one, not the fastest, but the nicest one I ever got. Their parent was a architect, and I'll show it to you Wednesday. So I just remembered. So you could save money, but you have to actually physically like hand it off. Be like, we're done early. It's great. Then there's some other things. You're gonna have to figure out how much your acid and your solid are gonna be. Here's some other things though. I want to just have a discussion on cardboard, plastic bottles. If you look at it, you're like, this is outrageous. Why are you charging so much? I don't have bottles at home. I don't have like 50 2-liter bottles. I don't have cardboard everywhere. So we're trying to encourage the idea that bring it in yourself. A couple big suggestions. All this is free today. After this, some suggestions cost money for you. Consultation fee. That's lame. To be a consultant and to know more about a business than they do, you make a lot of money. So you're going to get a little coupon. That's the second to the bottom one. It says formal consultation fee. $5,000 for 3 minutes. We will give you at least one coupon. I think it'll just be one. You can get as many questions answered in 3 minutes from any one of us, Neubauer, Blackford, or myself. The first question better not be, well, what would you do? And that's it. Or how would you make the best one? Or I would just be like, well, my suggestion would be to come up with better questions. Be specific. I will answer anything you want to ask me, but it's got to be specific. If you ask me one question, be like, all right, that's it. I guess we have 2 minutes and 30 seconds left. No. You have 3 minutes right now. That's it. So you might want to hold on to it. I always laugh at the questions that people come up with, and then it's like, that's the best you got? Like, there's so many things you could be asking. What do you think about this? Where do you think we should put this? Is this better here or here? Be specific, and I will answer it. Okay? A couple other things, glue and glue sticks, glue guns. Those are really nice to have. Rubber tubing. Want to have a discussion on that? This is some stuff that I supply, but it's $500 a centimeter. And you're like, oh, that's a lot. Well, I'm going to make something up here. It's probably going to cost you maybe like $27,000, maybe $35,000, depending on how much you need. Do we have enough? That's why we do an estimation this week. So you start seeing. I have built-in wiggle room. It's not like after all that, you're like, you have $1 left. We can't buy any of this. He's just putting this all out here. I do not own stock in Fleet Farm or anything else. I don't know where you can all get it from. I just want to give you some suggestions here. Here are some different sizes, first off. I would not go any smaller than a tube like this. Now, I wouldn't go much larger. Some people go much larger, but you don't want like a tube that's going to like envelop the whole house. Like, we just put the house inside the tube. It's all good. You don't want that. Don't, please, if you're going to spend your money, your parents' money, and I'm not saying you have to. Definitely, you can buy it from me, quote unquote, buy. I got this whole thing. If you can find a hardware store that actually is on the dowel already and you just pull it off and cut it, I got this for like $1. But I used to buy it from a place that rhymes with Home Depot, and they would be sealed, and it would be like half of this for like $4.50. Like half of it, because it's pre-sealed, and someone had to cut it and seal it up into a bag. So wherever, if you're going to get it from somewhere else, it's amazing how cheap you can get it if it's just on one big huge dowel, and you just pull it off and they cut it for you. It's really inexpensive. I think all this together was like $3. It's less than like this much that I could get from Home Depot. You can sell it to other groups. Don't be an idiot about it. You want this? $80,000. Like, what are you doing? They can get it from me for $15. I know, but hey, they want it. Like, no one wants that. Like, fine, $5. Oh, from the group? No, real money. Well, then that's your own thing. If you want to do that, that's fine. Final items on this, just to talk about. If you bring it in yourself, you write a 0. You still have to write it down. We're using it, but it's a 0. Suggestion on cardboard. Corrugated cardboard is really tough to handle. And it has a little like zigzag in there. It's stronger. It's really hard to cut, though, accurately, and it's harder to work with. Uncorrugated cardboard like this, shoe boxes, things like that, it's great. The question, let's say you need 15 centimeters. Is it okay if it's 16 or 14 centimeters? No, it's not. Well, are we going to get points off? Yes, you are. You have to cut the side, push it out or push it in, and then retape. You're going to beautify it anyway. So you're going to have to use a lot of duct tape or whatever else. Please figure something out with that, because again, the reason why some of these prices are the way they are, because it would be way too much. I would be handing out rolls of duct tape.
So all this is free if we bring it in.
Yes. Now, the question of can I bring in my own hydrochloric acid? Stop the ending of that question, because I don't want to know what follows and why or where. I've had students, well, we have a bunch of leftover sulfuric acid from. I'm like, stop. Because I'm a mandate reporter, and next thing you know, that's like FBI stuff, and I'm not joking. Like, you're not supposed to have certain things like that, and if it's a legit thing, let's just end that conversation and let's just be both happy that we're both here and working on this project. Okay? I don't want to know. I don't want to know why you have a huge drum of acid at your house. Okay? Are we required from me? You can bring this. Do not bring a box cutter. Oh, chemistry said we could bring a box. No, we never said that. You will get 3 days of suspension at best. Okay? That's the best case scenario. Do not bring any kind of knife. Okay? All right. Now, to help you with this, and again, I will explain it again on Wednesday, and I just sent you an email on this earlier in the day today. This is a copy. You have the link, okay? Please note on the bottom, it says invoice and then journal and tasks. What you're going to do by Wednesday is, check this out, an estimate. I don't want to type in here right now. If you type in numbers, it will show you how much you're estimating. Then as you are officially going through this project, you'll write actual numbers. Now, I estimated 50. I would assume you estimate 50. You're like, I'm going to get it done with 35,000. Great. Budget for 50. Oh, shoot. I'll talk about that in a second. Actually, let's freeze right now and let's go back. The bottom line, see in the invoice where it says OSHA? If you have a job, you know what OSHA is. Or you probably do. OSHA is there to help protect employees from hazards in the workforce. People have different views on OSHA. Okay? Understand this, though. It says it on the right what an OSHA fine is. And almost every group gets an OSHA fine from me. Because someone's a knucklehead at some point or just wears their goggles on their forehead when they're working with the acid. You don't need to have goggles on when you're cutting cardboard. Okay? If you're going to hurt yourself, you're going to hurt yourself anyway. I mean, I can't stop you from that with that. But these tables are not tech ed tables. These are for chemicals. So we have big, long boards that we put on back here. If you're not cutting, pasting, gluing on top of those boards, First off, I'm going to be really sad and mad because there's a couple big grooves back there that it's just like that's going to be like that forever. We got to take care of these. So that's a $10,000 fine every time anything like that happens. Oh, I didn't cut the table. I don't care. You were cutting. Oh, I was just cutting one thing. Got to be on those. They're always going to be back there, the boards. On every single table, there's like 1 or 2 boards on every table starting tomorrow. Not wearing goggles when you're supposed to. During the thing, if you lose chemicals, that might just happen. Oh, shoot, a puff of powder came out. Oh, the acid's leaking out. It's a fine. One group, everybody came out without their goggles. They had the acid already in there. Everybody in the group, and this is when we had groups of 4 or 5. That's 10,000 apiece. So you want to potentially not do this in 10 days because you want that little wiggle room. I have given you some. But I would budget, estimate, put 10,000 in. Like, expect you're going to do it. So 2 years ago, I had a kid, their group kicked him out, like voted him off the island, like kicked him out in the hallway. He got $30,000 in fines in a minute and a half. I'm not kidding. So he didn't wear his goggles. Then I'm not kidding, he was juggling with just one, with a scissors. So he was just like flipping it, thought it was like right next to other people. And I know, I get it, we're not like 5, but don't do that. And then he was seeing how strong the goggle was, so he was using the scissors tip on his goggle. I wanted to give him 2 times that, but I see him once. So they said, you're out, just sit in the hall while we do our actual presentation. And he had to sit, he watched around the corner. I could see it, just his eyes and the top of his head as he watched. So anyway, you'll write that all in. You'll make a copy of this, and we'll talk about that in a minute. The other thing, this looks like a lot. Yeah. Oh, okay. This looks like a lot, but I'll show you what I want from this. We are doing this now because we need to kind of see and make sure we kind of keep pushing you to see what you're doing and making sure you're kind of just thinking through some things. I'll make a little confession here. I played an instrument for 12 years, and sometimes we had to make some rehearsal journals. So I forget. So I get out a bunch of different colored pens and a pencil, and I lay them all out. I put the date down, right? Write what I did, time, and then I get a different color. Different. Well, I wasn't so bright, and then I would do the same cycle again. They're like, why is every 5th one in the pink pen? I'm like, you can't get away with that because this is all timestamped, right? I get it if you miss a day or so. Like, shoot, I didn't write yesterday, I'll write it today. Hey, at least you're being on it. But if it's May 8th, and now you're filling in everything, you didn't keep up with this. This is all we need you to do. It's real simple. Why are we writing name, even if you're by yourself? Because some people are going to be by themselves if they choose to do so. The reason why we have that, though, is that's not as important if you're by yourself. If you're with someone else, you can actually like communicate, like, well, I was working on this, or at least we can see who's working on what. Accomplishments. That's not, I got 2nd in track last night. Okay, that's, I got 3rd in Pinewood Derby. It's, hey, I finished outside a building. Started reaction vessel. Looked up company logo. Nothing. That's okay. You could have done nothing. It's okay. Next. Still to do or next to do. You don't list everything else. Okay, I need to do this, and then you take off one at a time. It's finish the reaction vessel. Add the brick. I just need to see something. Like, what are you planning on doing next? Please don't write this. Accomplishments, paper. Next, glue. Like, are you just naming nouns that are on the table? You know? Drawer, shoe. Like, I can't wait to see this project. It's pretty long. It has them all, but all you gotta do is just quickly type it and it's done. They're both on the same tab. You're gonna send us this link. So when it's done, it's just done. You can find your own company label. You can make whatever you want. You can make your own. You can just find one. Please keep it appropriate. It can be funny. It can be something that like Harry Potter and the Fire Killers if you want, but it needs to be appropriate. I'll just say one that I've had that, oddly enough, like 3 times in 16 years. So iron balls, let's say. You're just like, what? What? I'm like, come on. And they're all... Okay, like, I will make the final call, and it's yes or no. So if you're unsure, first off, if you're unsure, it's probably a no. If you're like, oh, you think this is okay? No, probably not. Like, that's just common sense, right? But you don't have to be an environmental firm if you don't want, but you can be. You can be you can have some fun. All right, getting back on task. All right, so on the bottom of that page, this is a suggestion. Do not feel like, oh my God, I'm behind. I didn't do one of these things. But these are the things that need to be done. 2 things I do want you to highlight. On day 11, we are lighting them up. Okay? And then, after that, we're done. But on day 13, you got to hand in your letter. And it's really frustrating to watch certain groups really put a lot of time in the building or a lot of time in the paperwork, which is not as much as it's going to sound in the beginning, but not in both. So you need those two things done by those dates. We are adding more time than we've ever added. One of the reasons, again, we're shrinking the groups. Now, I'll talk about that right now. And then also potentially with this Dunder Mifflin like size, I don't know if that's going to affect it. So this used to be a lot easier of a project on my end of things, and then I found out on your end as well from last year. 2 years ago was the 7 scheduled day. You guys pick your groups in this class. Actually, I did. I kind of picked 2 people and 2 other people that usually don't work together, so 2 that work, 2 that work, and then I put the 4 in. People work pretty well. Last year was a complete mess, dumpster fire of just epic proportions. We had groups of 4 and 5, and I am not exaggerating. I had a line at one point of people waiting to come to my desk to cry. Like, they would cry, the next person would leave, and the next person would come up, and in 10 seconds they'd start crying. I'm like, what is happening? I look, they're literally in line waiting to just cry at my desk. I'm like, I can't handle, I'm not built for this. And what I found out is that even when we put good groups together, like, and what does a good group mean? Let's just make up a grade-wise, like two A's and 2 B's, let's say, like that they were getting in the class. It's amazing that there were barely any groups of 4 that were all actually working on the project. Everybody was taking advantage of people or always having an excuse, or we don't have these times off, and they weren't communicating well. And what we basically figured out is most groups were basically being finished and done by 1 or 2 people anyway. And then it was just like, it was actually slowing them down because they're like, well, I was waiting for Jimmy to do that, but then they didn't, so now I got to do it. And they could have been doing that the whole time anyway. Or Sally did it, but now it's a whole mess. And I had one girl redo the entire project the night before because all these other people handed it in. It was like, it was a mess. But then it was really awkward because then when they handed it in, she had to secretly hand one in while they were handing them the other. I didn't know what to do. It was a mess. So you are going to be, we'll talk about partners in a second, but you're going to be either, you can work with someone else or by yourself. Okay, and we can talk about that a little bit more. And I think I'm on there right now. Just give me a second on that. Wait, shoot. I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me get ahead of myself. So right here, this is the other link I sent you. I do not encourage you to rush into this. You do not have to have this submitted until Friday. It would be nice to get it done earlier if you know your plan. Here's the only rule. Your partner has to be someone that I teach on a Monday. Okay, everyone's picking partners from their tour teacher. They don't have to be in this class, but I have to teach them on Monday. If you're like, well, I don't know who you all teach, I can give you a list if you need it, but it's one of those things where I guess you're going to have to kind of figure out a little bit. You don't have to work with someone else if you don't want to, though. So what you do is you put your name, you pull up the tour. Every time you pull this up, if you think of that I was on some weird drug while I filled this out, like what alphabet did you use? It's on a shuffle and I can't unshuffle it. So that 13, 14 is going to be somewhere else next time. So just find it. Okay, you'll do great. You're going to pick whether or not you're working with someone or you're on your own. If you're working with someone, you will type their name. If I'm working with Kimmy, I have to fill this out. So does she, though. It's not like, oh, Mr. Gussie already did it. I don't need to do it. My partner already filled it out. You both have to fill it out. Then, please, whoever copied that link, if you're working with someone else, your partner doesn't also make a new copy. You're working with one. So share it with your partner. You need to share it with me, and you need to put it on here. Okay? And you have to copy and paste. So you have to do that first, the other one first. But you have to do that by Friday. Not important. So you paste that in there, and then you hit submit. We've got about 20 already that's been submitted, but obviously there's going to be a lot more. Okay? So hopefully that makes some sense. So last page, flip it to the back. This is the rubric. I cannot make this any easier. It's 50 points. Every point is 2%. So value everything. Don't be like, oh, it's only a point. Nothing is out of this world. You can be, you're able to handle it all. Let's go to the bottom first. The building and down. So you got to make a building. All right, you got to have certain things. 10 points. 20% of it is building looks professional and ready to present to the board of Dunder Mifflin. No visible duct tape, exposed cardboard, bottle wrappers, etc. Now, we used to call it line enabled. Not professional. I wouldn't want to work in this building because where are the bathrooms? Very clear. Nothing's going on. It doesn't look like a building. Now, it's great for the dimensions, but there was more to this, but that's all I kept. Same time, and I don't squash creativity. I definitely want you to think about it. But it's not Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. And I don't know if it was like they found their Halloween candy, but I do find it very funny. A very interesting choice. I want to point out something that I think was the funniest part of all this, is I put it up on top of my cabinets for like 2 or 3 summers, and these are root beer barrels, and it was layered, the whole thing. Again, don't know why. They must love candy. I don't remember who made these. There are still like 3 or 4 root beer barrels that are like fused to the top. Like I'm gonna call NASA, I'll be like, have you looked into this adhesive? Because it's incredible. I've tried, like they're not coming off. They're insane. But that's, I mean, you can find, it's amazing. Google fake brick. Wow, my gosh. Oh, I can tape it. You can do all sorts of things like that. Model has creative elements that go above and beyond. And I will break this down more if you're like, well, what is 5 points? Because that's a lot. That go above and beyond the building requirements, like a parking lot, interior designing, exterior components, realistic add-ons, details, work that is clearly above and beyond. I see people making little diplomas on the walls. If you're doing the Dunder Mifflin, you should put the desks where those desks are. That'd be awesome. I've seen chandeliers, one lit on fire, that was bad. People put cardboard. Somebody made working lights. And I'm not saying you have to do that. I was like, wow, that's amazing. But I finally have addressed it. There's about a 5-year span where apparently because I'm the tennis coach, everybody put tennis courts on every project that they handed in. I am not exaggerating. There were like probably about 80 of these tennis courts. Although I would play on that tennis court because that just looks really sweet. But finally I'm like, you guys, stop. You guys stop tennis courts. That's really great. It's kind of like Google, you know, you get some recreation going on too, but you don't need to do a tennis court. What else you don't need? You don't need to rummage through your old toys or your siblings' toys and just bring it because you can. I cannot tell you the number of petting zoos I have had, I'm not kidding, on the side, and one person, that's what they spent like 4 days on. That was theirs. Like, well, I mean, they're like, I don't know, the animal's not speaking to me that way, and they're gluing them all. They got the animal. I'm like, what is this? Oh, it's our petting zoo. Like, what? Research too. Know what a handicap spot looks like. I've had the most horrific looking drawings, like a kid that looks like it's on a moped with like a basket on the back. I'm like, what is this? It's the handicap. I'm like, why is it red? What do you mean? I'm like, they're blue. What? Oh. So, you can definitely have fun though with parking lots. I mean, there was a funny one that they had this like Lego guy stealing like hubcaps from a car, and then this other person's like on a toilet. I mean, they had some funny things. Not that you have to have toilet humor or anything like that, but so that's that. Then I know some of you have to leave. We'll talk more about it on Wednesday. So then this is what you're going to hand in at the end. 4 pieces of paper. Okay? It's all on there. Please understand. I don't know how else to say this, and this happens like to 4 or 5 groups an hour. I'll just point one out. Balanced chemical equation for the CO2. We're making carbon dioxide. Good luck, everybody. If this is not in your letter, you don't get that 1 point. Well, yeah, but I had it down here. It's not in the letter. If it's not on page 1, you don't get the point. You make your calculations, that's on page 2. We're going to do an invoice. We'll talk about how we're going to do all that. I'm going to kind of help you out on Wednesday. Blueprint, by the way, if you're like, well, you already gave us a blueprint. You're going to make a blueprint of the building and the reaction vessel from a side, and I'm going to show you the requirements on the end from above. So this one right here I have is the most original, not the most original, but the most unique because the only one group has ever done what they did. Let me address it right now. Here's some rules. I'm going to read the third one. These are things because groups did them, and I'm like, that's not happening again. So I've learned as we've gone. Like, it just kind of ruined the spirit of what we're doing. The third one, must have both reactants loaded, placed, ready to be mixed within the delivery system before lighting the candles. This is what will happen, you guys. I light them, and then I say, you guys ready? We close the lid. I say, ready, set, go. You turn it. I'm starting the clock. You can't go, you tell me, hey, light it. You light it, and then all of a sudden, I'm like, well, where's your solid and your liquid? You're like, oh, well, we haven't mixed it yet. And then now you like take this, it's already going. I'm like, ready? You have the liquid like just over here. Okay, and you just pour it. Like, you have to come up with a way to keep it separated beforehand. What I envision that is like someone hits a button, and a giant comes out of like the woods. I got it. You're welcome. And they go back. Like, it's not the point. And I know you can argue with me, well, yeah, but if I have a trap door or a twisting cup or whatever else, isn't that the same thing and the giant's doing that? Yes, but at least it's like I can envision that it's a mechanical thing that's happening, you know, like something came out or something moved. This group, it wasn't fast, but I appreciate the effort. They actually put, and I would have loved a little bit of presentation, and that's literally how it was. It wasn't like, oh, you broke it. No, it was just hanging. It would have been neat to be in like a little like plat or like a dashboard or something. They pushed this button, and some of you know more about this than I do, and it turned a valve inside and actually mechanically mixed it. So it's cool. I know, well, a giant could push that button too. Okay, at some point, something's got to happen. But I hope you understand what I'm saying. The other ones, quickly, you got to be able to see all the candles. We used to have one that was totally solid. We're like peeking in. So I will give you either, I'm not going to give you this, but if some people do buy plexiglass, or they have somebody else has a really big sheet and then they like lend it. Or I'm going to also give you transparencies. So like this one has a transparency, so you can see through. Made all cats. If you're doing Dunder Mifflin, that'd be great where the cat was. Again, nothing against cats. I'm a dog person, but nothing against cats. But I'm losing sight of how this is a paper company in any way. Like, this looks so a little different. Two other quick things. We're almost done. Must have Dunder Mifflin. You can't show up and be like, hey, Harry Potter's fire killers. And the board of directors like, ooh, is that your building or our building? Gotta have it. And I know that's his line enable, but it has to have Dunder Mifflin. And then, finally, this is the one I have to squash. You light it all, right? You close it, and I'm ready to go. Like, hey, let's go. They're like, hold on. And they take the tape, and they seal it all up, and they're ready to almost mix. And then I look, and all the candles are already out. They're like, 0 time. Like, you just smothered them. Like, we got to go. So you don't get to put, and then people started getting away with hiding rocks in the lids. So they had rocks, and then they'd like flip it, and then it would slam down. It's the cardboard or the plastic, however it's lined. If it has a latch, great. You don't latch it down. If it sits nicely, great. But you cannot try to seal it. Believe me, it will go up. The gas rush is in. If you do it well, you're screwing around with stuff that you don't need to worry about. Like if you just focus on them, how am I going to keep them apart? How am I going to mix the solid and the liquid? How am I going to channel it into the 8 rooms? If you can just focus on those 3 things, you can be fine. So those are the rules that we got to follow. And then again, I will talk about all this stuff later. Where are we? Oh, so online, I don't think I've shown this yet. If you just go to the chemistry page, this is the front page. So normally it has things like this on it. This is the front page. It's maybe confusing now. I never had this up like this before. So I'm trying. You click the images, and it takes it each thing. So here's the letter if you lost your sheet, like if you need something, okay? So each thing's on here, even the videos and things like that. So if you need, I've sent the email already, but if you need the link for the invoice journal again, you need to make a copy of that. That's right there. Here's your partner form. Again, both those links have already been sent to you. Final items. So, I get it. I'm confused. I'm overwhelmed. What the heck am I doing first? So, this is what you should be thinking about today. What can I bring in? Okay, cardboard, bottles, glue guns, things like that. Don't bring in box cutters. Don't do anything like that. When you bring it in, have a plan. Bring it in a grocery bag with your name on it and put it somewhere. Don't just show up and be like, all right, I got my stuff. And then you just set it down, and like 4 days later, it's like, where's my tubing? Like, someone probably stole it, or it got misplaced. Like, everything, it's not like you had your name on it, apparently, because you just made a pile. Have it in a bag. This is my favorite one, though. You're planned out, and you have everything in a box. And about day 3, you cut that box to make your building. And now you have all this. Now you just throw it again. Like, I don't know what to do with this now. You gotta have a backup plan. It still has to go somewhere. You just cut up your box. So either you have a bigger box with the cardboard inside, or you need to have a bag inside that box so when you run out of your box, you have things that you can put into it. I do ask you to try to put your stuff in the same spots each time. Don't assume just on the table's okay. On the side of the table, underneath the tables, on the sides, I will try to have some places. You'll start to get an idea where you want to put it. If you don't want to put it in my room, that's okay. If you spend more time in the other room, that's fine. Maybe this is the only day I have it. That's fine. You do need by Friday to make a copy of this, the invoice journal sheet. So you make a copy. Please put your name somehow on the heading so I understand what it is. And then you do need to fill out the partner form. Okay? And you got to do it in this order. Can't fill this out without that because you need that link. And I will reiterate all this on Wednesday if you need some help with it. So, to finish up, because I know that I would be confused on what some things look like. So I have a couple images. I'm not saying these are good or bad, but I do want to talk about a few of them. Okay? Sorry. Some of these are very old, some of these are just from last year. So let's just stay focused on one at a time. Wow, this is going down. Okay, this first one. They did a little subterranean thing going on here. So they had a tube up here like a silo. They had a PVC pipe valve, which is kind of cool. They opened it up, came down, then they had two pipes come up and down into the top, and then I believe they even had like tapered like connectors, which is kind of cool. So then I believe it had a T connector, and then they had probably another tube, and then be mindful, I'm gonna bring a drill, everything else, we can drill holes halfway through tubes. We can put tubes inside of tubes, you can put straws inside of tubes, you can do all sorts of stuff. And then it probably disseminated above each hole. One thing I just see, it's not a big deal, but they would have lost the point. They left the Ice Mountain label on it. And you're like, oh, it's not a big deal. Ugh, that's sloppy. Like after all that, like you could wrap that and put Dunder Mifflin on there. And then the Dunder Mifflin could have their own little silo or something like that. Okay, just as a suggestion. All right, this one. This was just last year. I like some of the decorations. They have a parking lot. This one, kind of a little unique because they had a bottle. I cannot tell how they're mixing it. Picture's a little pixelated. But it went up into one tube, and then somehow went into two tubes, and then this one went into another tube. So they had a plan of how it was all going to go out. I think it looks like it's kind of above multiple rooms, and then it kind of just disseminates out over the candles. This one, forgot about that kid. Connor, I think this is a long time ago. They had a really big, like 3-liter. That's huge. Like I'll show you how much this is once you start to calculate it. But they had it coming down. What is negative about this, just to kind of talk out loud here, again, this is all free today. If I'm channeling it from here, the longer the tube, the longer it's going to take, and then they channeled it into this, which I'm assuming then had the solid, and then that channeled back out. A lot of stops. There's a lot of places. That's a lot of moving parts. But what was neat about this is it's coming from the bottom, and it's probably going right at the candles. So just another idea. 2 more. 3 more, sorry. This was last year. I loved, I don't know. It wasn't the nicest looking outside, but I liked it. It was kind of whimsical, like kind of cartoonish. They have Yogi Bear and some other things, and I like the trees on that. I love the parking lot. I don't know if you can tell the perspective on that, but it's just a picture of a fire truck sideways in a parking lot. That's all it is. But they have a cup. And I wanted to just talk about that for a second. So you have a cup. There's 2 things, free advice today. When you put let's say a stick or a dowel in there, put a dab of glue. Oh, it moves now. Yeah, it's tight right now, but if you put a solid in there, is it still going to turn? I cannot tell you the number of groups where they're spinning it, and the cup's not moving. They're like, no, it's not moving. I'm like, yeah, it's moving, just the cup's flipping back and forth. Other thing, did you test it? Did you turn it once? Because I've seen so many people inside their bottle, they turn it, and then the bottom's hitting it because it can't do that. Like, oh my gosh, it's too big. It's like, yeah, you put it like half the size of the bottle inside and it's too long. So you got to think about how it pivots and all that. So you got to kind of practice that stuff. Another suggestion or piece of advice, you got to think about how you're going to get them both into your containers or your devices. Are they separate? If they're together, you do need a plan. Like this one, just to show you, they had like a little latch right here. They poured their acid in there, and then I think they sealed that. But that's dangerous. It's got to be really sealed, or else the gas is going to leak out. So that's something to maybe have help with on your consultation. I don't know how the tubes go though, because that was on the roof apparently. Last 2, and I think this is interesting because this is from last year, and this is from probably 15 years ago, and they both have exactly the same problem. They cut the top of the bottle off, and what happens is when they open this up, first off, solid doesn't just flow. It's not like, oh, solid just goes down, but there's a lot of gas that's produced. And it looked like LeBron James before a game. All the powder just goes up in the air. That's an automatic $10,000 fine, by the way, which if you have room for it. I mean, your goal is not to try to get fines either. Like, oh, let's get one. We got room. But they opened it. It all went up in the air. What is neat, though, they have really similar ideas. This one, they kind of had like an octopus thing going on. They were on the top. and it all just stemmed down. Be mindful on that. If you're gonna have this, it can't be on a latch. If you go sideways, think about that. The ass is all gonna fall out. So that's gotta be detached so you can set it down. If you're ever gonna attach something on the roof like that, that cannot be on a hinge. This one probably won't be on a hinge either, because how are you gonna get that off? So that should just be on there, but similar ideas. So, that's where we're kind of leaving off. So you have until about Wednesday to really contemplate what you want to do. If you have issues or want to talk at all about groups, or if you're having any, I don't know, unforeseen problems that I can't think about right now, let me know. Again, the only rule with the groups, it's got to be someone else that I teach on Mondays. If you're not sure about that, we can work on that as well. But we will be going over more things on Wednesday. Again, I'll leave you with this page right here. So these are the things that I think you should be thinking about first. Okay? Should be fun. We've added more time. All this stuff is online as well. So if you're ever not sure, and I will be adding more as we go. I might even add a couple of little mini tutorials of certain things that might help you out. So should be fun. As always, communicate. Don't all of a sudden the day before the project's due, all of a sudden have all these issues and things that could have probably been handled and communicated with much earlier. Okay? Cool.